The ratings are in for this week's edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS. Possibly the reason as to why Chris Jericho won the Ring of Honor World Championship this week on Dynamite has been revealed. More statements have been released from various attorneys regarding the Ring Boy lawsuit filed against WWE, Vince and Linda McMahon and TKO Group Holdings this week. The possible main event for AEW Full Gear has possibly been revealed. An update on the WWE music situation right now with the expected departure of Def Rebel. Goldberg opens up on his altercation with Gunther at Bad Blood. Athena reveals a brand new version of the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship. And Julia Hart reveals she's close to returning to the ring. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, there are plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with the ratings and viewership figures for this week's edition of AEW Dynamite on TBS. Now, the good news for AEW is that Wednesday's AEW Dynamite kept its audience from last week. The bad news is that total viewership only saw a marginal increase and came behind the ratings for WWE NXT for the fourth consecutive week, while also seeing a drop in the key 18 to 49 demographic. According to WrestleNomics, Dynamite averaged 637,000 viewers compared to last week's 633,000, a 1% gain. The 18 to 49 demographic was down 5%, with the show scoring a 0.19 as compared to last week's 0.20 in the demographic. As it stands, the overall audience for Dynamite is down 21% compared to this time last year, while the 18 to 49 is down 29%. Dynamite has yet to beat NXT in overall viewership since the latter's move to the CW network. However, it must be stressed this week's 18 to 49 number was higher than NXT's. NXT had a 0.16 in the 18 to 49, whereas Dynamite had a 0.19. However, as mentioned, since NXT has moved to the CW network, Dynamite has yet to defeat NXT in terms of total viewership. Now, in terms of the quarter-hour ratings, these come courtesy of WrestleNomics, so shout out to them and be sure to subscribe to their Patreon service. Dynamite got its standards massive lead-in from The Big Bang Theory, with the opening of the show the highest rated in both demographics, and both demographics rebounding for the Ring of Honor World Championship ladder war between Mark Briscoe and Chris Jericho. The 18 to 49 demographic bottomed out at 230,000 at two different times during the show's second half. The opening of the main event trios match between the Young Bucks and Jack Perry and Private Party and Daniel Garcia, with only 532,000 tuning in for the match and its aftermath. This news comes after a 92% jump last week. AEW Dynamite was rebounding from a historically low-rated program for the Title Tuesday edition earlier this month, which saw AEW's flagship program drop below 350,000 overall total viewers. AEW, of course, recently signed a brand new media rights deal with Warner Bros. Discovery. The company's Turner Networks will broadcast the promotion for many years to come. The deal will also bring AEW programming to the streaming platform Max, including a co-broadcast of the weekly television product on the streaming platform concurrent with Dynamite broadcasts. Now, one of the more controversial elements of this week's edition of AEW Dynamite was Chris Jericho once again winning the Ring of Honor World Championship. Now, Chris Jericho captured the ROH World title for a second time during this week's AEW Dynamite, defeating Mark Briscoe in a ladder match with some help from the Learning Tree. Discussing the match on Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer offered a possible explanation for Jericho's title win. Quote, "I think that if they are working on a Ring of Honor television deal, then it's probably beneficial for them to be champion to try and close that deal," Meltzer said. He then confirmed that Tony Khan is in the process of trying to secure a TV deal for the brand. Of course, AEW, as I mentioned, recently re-upped with Warner Bros. Discovery, ensuring that Dynamite and Collision remain on TNT and TBS, as well as heading to streaming platform Max. However, Ring of Honor was not included in that agreement. Meltzer praised the Jericho-Briscoe match from Wednesday, marveling at Briscoe's mobility after a career full of death-defying stunts. Both Meltzer and co-host Brian Alvarez stated that it was possible that Khan would run another rematch between Jericho and Briscoe and at Ring of Honor Final Battle later this year, which would allow Briscoe to compete in the Continental Classic and take some losses before winning the title back from Jericho. Now, this is Jericho's second time as Ring of Honor World Champion, with his last reign also coinciding with rumors that Khan was seeking a media rights rights deal for Ring of Honor. However, no outside agreement materialized, and ROH has since been relegated to its own online streaming platform and appearances on AEW programming. Following the victory against Briscoe, Jericho's next challenger stepped forward, Tomohiro Ishii of New Japan Pro Wrestling. Jericho successfully defended the Ring of Honor World Championship against Ishii during his initial title reign in November 2022. Though Ishii has previously held the Ring of Honor Television Championship, he has not yet held the brand's world title. Now, of course, a massive story this week was the bombshell lawsuit filed regarding the Ring Boy scandal of the 1980s and 1990s. The Ring Boy scandal that rocked WWE in the 90s has been reopened after 5 unnamed people filed a sexual assault lawsuit against Vince McMahon, Linda McMahon, and WWE, as well as parent company TKO Group Holdings. An attorney representing the 5 John Does who have filed the case against Vince and Linda, Greg Goltzer, rejected a comment made by Vince McMahon's lawyer, who had accused journalist Phil Mushnick of spreading falsehoods about McMahon regarding the Ring Boy scandal. Gutzler, during a recent appearance on Post Wrestling, stated that several facts in the lawsuit have nothing to do with Mushnick's claims. He said, quote, "If you read the 81-page complaint, you are going to see multiple facts, myriad facts, and dozens of facts that have nothing to do with Phil Mushnick," Gutzler said. We had the fact that we had Mel Phillips shuttling young boys in plain sight in front of WWE executives and wrestlers from state to state. You have him in plain sight staying in hotel rooms with young boys. You have in plain sight Mel Phillips engaging in sexual foot fetishes in the ring in front of people, in the locker room in front of wrestlers, and he was even provided his private dressing room in certain areas. You have the FBI videotape where the FBI said, the Behavioral Science Unit said, this is consistent with pedophilia and sexual foot fetishes. Gutzler also stated that Vince McMahon did not deny that he had informed people that Phillips had an interest in young boys. He also added the McMahons initially fired Phillips and rehired him on the condition that he, quote, steered clear of the kids, end quote. The attorney reiterated that none of these facts have nothing to do with Mushnick. Gutzler also stated that the McMahons walking away from the defamation lawsuit they filed against Mushnick indicates that the veteran columnist had told the truth. Now, more details of this comes from Dave Meltzer. Obviously, as I mentioned, this week the wrestling world was rocked by another legal development involving Vince McMahon, one separate, it must be stressed, from the Janelle Grant ongoing lawsuit against Vince McMahon over sex trafficking and abuse. This lawsuit instead comes from 5 former ring boys, again of the 1980s/90s ring boy scandal. As the allegations date all the way back to the 70s, 80s, and 90s, the Wrestling Observer newsletter's Dave Meltzer is all too familiar with this situation, having covered the accusations of former ring boy Tom Cole. On the latest Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer gave his thoughts on the lawsuit, which he says was made possible by Maryland ending a law that ended statute of limitations in the state, enabling the ring boys to file a lawsuit. After going through some of the acts Phillips was accused of, Meltzer stated his view that WWE had at least some knowledge of Phillips' acts at the time, something echoed by WWE's firing of Phillips in the late 80s, only to bring him back on the condition that he stayed away from children. In regards to a trial, Meltzer strongly believes that the case will never make it to court and that a settlement will be reached. The only question in Meltzer's mind is how much a settlement would cost. Another mystery is when the suit could be taken to court, as no information was provided on that matter when the lawsuit was filed this week. At this time, Linda McMahon, WWE, and TKO have yet to comment, while Mr. McMahon, Vince McMahon, he did release a comment this week. Now, the main event for Full Gear, AEW's upcoming pay-per-view, may have possibly been revealed. Ever since he told Tony Schiavone that AEW wasn't your company anymore, Jon Moxley has proven those words to be true. That's because Moxley, alongside Claudio Castagnoli, Wheeler Yuta, Pac, and Marina Shafir, have taken control over AEW themselves. Over the past few weeks, the group has claimed the AEW World title following Moxley's Wrestle Dream victory over Bryan Danielson, annihilated Danielson with a post-match assault, and created an unstable environment within AEW, targeting everyone from wrestlers to producers such as Chuck Taylor. While all the intrigue Moxley and his friends have created, it's left people wondering just who could be challenging him for the championship at Full Gear next month, especially with Darby Allin nowhere to be seen since Wrestle Dream. Fortunately, Dave Meltzer may have an answer. On the latest Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer stated that it was a strong presumption that the Full Gear main event would see Moxley defending the title against Orange Cassidy. Aside from Darby Allin, Cassidy has been seen as a potential challenger to Moxley ever since the end of Wrestle Dream, where Cassidy was one of the many AEW babyfaces watching in despair as the medical team worked on a prone Danielson. Since then, several AEW roster members have looked to Cassidy to be a leader, of which he has shown some reluctance. It remains to be seen if that's changed following this week's Dynamite. However, following an attack on Taylor, Cassidy's longtime friend and stablemate. If Cassidy versus Moxley is the Full Gear main event, it will not be their first high-profile encounter. Of course, the duo previously headlined AEW All Out 2023, with Moxley defeating Cassidy to win the AEW International Championship, then faced off again at Full Gear, where Cassidy defeated Moxley to win back the gold. Now, obviously, WWE music has been heavily criticized and been a big point of scrutiny for several years in WWE. In recent years, the criticism of Def Rebel's WWE music production has been under intense scrutiny from fans, with many complaints being made for various different reasons on the state of WWE theme music in 2024. In asking about how WWE higher-ups view the production company, sources told Fightful Select's Corey Brennan that while WWE are aware of the fan backlash and are monitoring the reactions as of earlier this year, there hadn't been a plan in action for them to be replaced. However, on October 22nd this week, WWE posted a job listing looking to fill for Director of Music Strategy and Operations. The listing consists of more on the administrative side and the growth of the music division and streamlining the department, as well as coordinating live events and performances. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful was told this wasn't specifically for a composer role, as Jim Johnson once held, and the job would also communicate with UFC, PBR, and other TKO properties. In speaking to several WWE talents who are currently using Def Rebel's themes, Brennan was met with frustration across the board with Def Rebel's methods and the themes that they have produced, with several talents expressing negativity about their current theme music. When Sean Ross Sapp spoke with talent, many were never told outright why their theme music changed from the CFO's era, even when they asked. The talent that Fightful have heard back from say they haven't had a direct contact or even met Def Rebel. There have also been communications from those that work in production to both Brennan and Sapp that had noted that they would prefer a new method, with one source telling Sapp that they were hopeful for a more motivated and personalized approach to theme music. One talent joked to Sapp that at one point all members of Judgment Day, Damage Control, and Seth Rollins had a very similar intro to their theme over a several-year period. Although those were from Def Rebel in the latter two cases and Alter Bridge in the former, for a period of a few years, any one of a dozen people could have been coming out, the talent said, joking about the similarities. Sources that spoke to Sapp had not heard of any imminent plan to utilize more licensed music as theme songs, as has been speculated. There were a few wrestlers who inquired about those rumors and were told that long-term clearances were issues in some cases. Licensed music is still expected to be featured as WWE works to integrate more artists into their shows and PLEs. In another note about Def Rebel's theme music, Brennan also learned that upon his return to WWE after Survivor Series last year, the theme music change that Fightful Select previously reported was indeed a Def Rebel remix of Randy Orton's iconic Voices theme, with multiple different remixes being pitched to Orton since. Orton rejected them all. Contrary to popular belief, Sapp is told that not every talent was approached or mandated for a theme adjustment from regime to regime. There are still some talent that use their Jim Johnson themes and haven't been approached for new ones across multiple regimes. Def Rebel have been responsible for the production of WWE theme music for years. Sean Ross Sapp was told there was a significant publishing issue between the members of CFOs, and WWE even tried to buy them out of their deal 5 years ago, but the publisher rejected. WWE was hoping to bring them in-house, but talks got to a standstill and then eventually ran out, and the duo had a non-compete with their publisher and then disbanded. CFO's publisher, Arcade Songs owner Greg Wattenberg, had helped establish connections from WWE with 12 Stones, Drowning Pool, Finger 11, and Alter Bridge. CFOs would often take direct input from talent when working on their themes, but also had a library of themes produced to use. This isn't confirmed, but word in the industry was that WWE owned the publishing rights of Jim Johnson and Def Rebel's themes per arena taping, but only 50% of CFO's themes. The group was no longer allowed to use the name, and Fightful I've been told at least one of them has left music altogether. And for those asking about Jim Johnson and possibly him coming back, Fightful have been told repeatedly over the years that is unlikely, as he is in his 70s. Fightful have not heard of what his current relationship is with the company, but those that Fightful have spoken to say they wouldn't be surprised to see a bridge being built to acknowledge how he actually performed under previous regimes. Now, the, feeling is that people internally understand the frustrations around Def Rebel, and the company is hiring someone to streamline a lot of music-related communications. CFOs had a financial falling out with WWE, and their publisher are no longer together, with one leaving music. Jim Johnson, though, is not expected back, as we mentioned. Now, Goldberg. Could Goldberg be having that match against Gunther? Well, it's looking increasingly likely that WWE Hall of Famer Goldberg is planning to make a return for at least one more match. The wrestler appeared on screen at WWE Bad Blood earlier this month with a match teased between Goldberg and World Heavyweight Champion Gunther. During a recent discussion on the podcast CarCast, Goldberg addressed the confrontation, stating that he received an invitation to the show from WWE while he was in town filming a TV show. Quote, "I should have known somebody was going to try and mess with me, in Atlanta no less," Goldberg said. "We were having a great time. Gunther, I don't want to make anything more of it than it was, but you know me, I'm not going to sit there and let some dude talk shit." The interaction began when Gunther, speaking from the ring, insulted Goldberg as he stood in the audience. When Gunther addressed Goldberg's son Gage directly, it caused the Hall of Famer to jump the barricade. Though he attempted to go after Gunther, Goldberg was held back by a legion of security. While nothing is official, it seems unlikely this angle was executed without the potential for a match down the line. He said, quote, "I ain't dead yet," Goldberg stated. "As long as I'm breathing, I don't ever talk shit about me, especially my family." When he brought Gage into it and me being a dad, that was it. As of today, Goldberg's last match was at WWE Elimination Chamber 2022, which took place in Jeddah, Saudi Arabia. According to Goldberg, he accepted the match at the last second while recovering from COVID-19 as a favor to Vince McMahon. In return, Goldberg wanted a retirement match in WWE, but he stated McMahon did not grant his request. Now, a bit of a change to the Ring of Honor Women's World Championship here. On the October 24th episode of Ring of Honor TV on Honor Club, Athena held her Ring of Honor Women's World Championship celebration with Lexi Nair and Billy Starks. The celebration comes after the Fallen Goddess broke the 645-day record run of Samoa Joe as Ring of Honor World Champion for the longest reign of any champion in Ring of Honor history. During the celebration, Lexi presented a spinner redesign of her Ring of Honor Women's World Championship to Athena. After Ring of Honor went off the air, Athena took to Twitter to comment on this spinner redesign. She wrote, quote, "Also, I want to thank Minion 1 and, of course, my Minion bestie for my amazing custom spinner bout. Ain't she beautiful? Hashtag forever ROH champ, longest reigning ROH champ." Also during the segment, Billy Starks became frustrated at Athena, blaming her for things not going right for the celebration, which led to Starks leaving her and Lexi Nair. Then Abaddon appeared under the ring and attacked Athena to lay her out, as well as smash a cake over her head. And finally, an update when it comes to Julia Hart here. AEW star Julia Hart, who has been on the sidelines for nearly 6 months due to an injury, has given an update on her current status. Hart last wrestled in April when she lost the AEW TBS Championship to Willow Nightingale at the Dynasty pay-per-view, and the young star has confirmed she is on her way back from injury. During a recent live signing session with High Spots, Hart revealed that she is ready to return to the ring and is waiting to be called up by AEW. Quote, "I am ready, I'm just waiting on the call," Hart said. "Who knows when I'll pop up, you'll never know." The host of the signing added that they did not book Hart's flight for the signing until a few days before it was to happen because they did not know where she might be. Recent reports have indicated that Hart has been cleared for a return to action, with her House of Black stablemate Brody King disclosing that she is close to a return. Hart had suffered an injury before her last match against Nightingale and wrestled her at Dynasty despite being injured. Hart's run with the TBS title, her first championship in pro wrestling, lasted just over 150 days. But there you go, guys. Latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe bottom right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon. Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.